Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening for some of you. I'm going to give it a few more minutes to see if anyone is joining live. And I've been sitting in front of my screen already for a while, postponing the going live button. Resistance. But I'm gonna do it anyway. So, having this conversation and sharing about this topic is making me feel uncomfortable. But I'm gonna do it anyway. And again, I'm live on Facebook and on Instagram. So everyone on Facebook, welcome. Hello, Peggy. I always struggle with a Dutch name like Peggy. If it's like, am I gonna pronounce it in Dutch or in English? I trust you're doing well. Nice for you to join. So today, I'm going to share about a piece that really is bringing authenticity in its wholeness for me personally. Hello. Because what I'm witnessing and what I've been participating in myself as well is we can show certain parts of our lives online, in online spaces, whether that is on social media or any other platforms or your website, your blog post. But we are human, so that's just such a small piece of what's actually going on in our lives, of course. And the question that I kept asking myself for a while now is, how real is it? Right? And authenticity has always been a big theme for me, and in the past weeks it surfaced even more, also in the run-up to Own Your Stage and Code Your Stage and being prepared for that codex. So several things started to unfold in my field, and that's a deeply imprinted pattern that I'm going to share about today. And it has been surfacing for the past couple of years, more present in my timelines. And it has been a loop of fear-based timelines and abundant timelines, or love and happiness. And that's also something that I'm really witnessing and seeing in the collective. We are looping. Up until, of course, we are owning that part of ourselves too. And what that means is to really sit with it and sit through the discomfort. And I've been feeling a fraud and fake for quite some time. And I want to elaborate why. Because as I was yesterday going through some stories that I was posting, I noticed that I've always been very real and raw and authentic in the trauma that I've been alchemizing and transcending. And the way that I've been showing up, it has been in tears sometimes, it has been not in the highest vibe at times, and then afterwards I would do another post or video expressing the lessons and the insight what that specific experience taught me, which is beautiful because that's bringing up and showing the mundane aspect within myself. It's showing the human aspect. And we are human. We are here for the human experience. So the feeling of being a fake or being a fraud, I actually said it to 2 people out loud, to 3 people out loud in the past 2 weeks or so, or 3 weeks or so, because it was surfacing for me. Was that one of the fears that's surfacing for me at times, and that I'm not sharing about at all, is a fear that many people are feeling. I'm seeing it, I'm witnessing it, I'm in it sometimes myself. And that's a fear about the money frequency, about the energy around money. And in the past couple of years, money has been my greatest teacher. It has been the vehicle that has been teaching me the most at times. And what has been happening in recent weeks is that a fear of lack and not having enough came to the surface again, and automatically, because it was so present in my thoughts and my feelings, my outer reality started to change in little things. For example, that I'm in the supermarket and I have my cards on me, and I didn't have any airtime left, and I had to transfer money from the one account to the other account because only one card is working here in Mexico for me. But I was in the supermarket and there was not enough money on that specific card. I didn't have any Wi-Fi, I didn't have any 4G, and I was like, oh fuck. So within that moment, I was being brought back in a scarcity timeline, even though it wasn't present, because once I went home and I made the transfer, I went back to the supermarket and it was sorted. But it was that realization of like, what's happening? Because that fear of running out, that fear of lack, that was present in my field, and that was just a taster. It was just a taster of like, am I going to manifest this reality for real? And another example that happened was that, and I shared about this in my stories, about finding a cute little puppy. It was so cute, and it was homeless, and it brought up so much for me, because one of my biggest fears since 2019, and 2019 is the year that a lot changed for me, and that I said goodbye to my safety net, and because of that safety net, even though I didn't really make use of it in that sense, but because of this safety net, I made very bold choices in the past, immigrating, traveling, moving, because I knew if things would go really wrong, there would always be a backup financially. And since 2019, I chose to walk away from that. But that did a lot for me in terms of my field and feeling safe. And money was representing safety. But it's not money that's making us feel safe, of course. But that has been the learning, the learning journey. So let's go back to the little cute puppy. Because when I found that puppy, it brought me back into timelines of the biggest fear of being homeless, of not having a place to stay, of not having a roof above my head to sleep. And even though I will never land in such a reality, it was present in my field. And when I found that puppy, it was like, wow, I could feel that I had dissolved that. It was no longer present in the field, and I could now make sure that that puppy was getting a beautiful home. I consider taking it myself, but that's just not fitting my lifestyle at present. So at the same time, I brought up so many fears also of feeling safe within my own body. I could feel the fear in the puppy. And shame. Like, it was representing so much in a way of having a home and the safety within our bodies, the safety within my body. So that was another example that brought me back to the gratitude of where I am at present, and still simultaneously finding myself at times in these timelines where there is this fear. And that's often related to the money. So another example that's unfolded in the past 3 weeks, so this is all like very much surfacing in recent weeks, is that my credit card got scammed in Mexico here, and that's the only card that's working. So in that way, of course, that also brought up fear and scarcity, because now what is going to happen? How am I going to get cash? Because a lot is paid cash here, and how am I going to sort this out? And that was just, again, it was a taster of that feeling of lack and scarcity and fear around money that's present and was present in my body and in my fields. And because at times that was so present, I started feeling like a fraud, because you all see me living this beautiful lifestyle, like in Tulum or traveling, and I really enjoy my life, and I'm living that life, and I'm doing it. But in the background, there were still these codes running that I never spoke about, that I barely spoke about with anyone in my inner circle even, because there was so much shame around it. There was so much guilt around it. And that's what money does. It's a teacher, it's a vehicle for so many different feelings and emotions. That was about to happen. So shame, guilt. How on the one end can I own and really feel in my body to charge what I charge, and at the other end still find myself in those timelines of panic? And even though that are moments in time, it's just a fraction. It can be just a minute or an hour or 5 minutes, it doesn't matter, the time doesn't matter. It's still part of my reality right now. And what I'm seeing and what I'm witnessing, like the money energy, the money frequency, the vehicle, money being the vehicle, it's such a teacher for every one of us. And I desire to master it, to master these money codes. Because that's gonna serve everyone. And the feeling of the fraud or being the fraud really surfaced of not vocalizing this, of not expressing this in that shadow side, in that also being part of the human experience, that we can live this beautiful abundance, liberated, free lifestyle, and at the same time still go through these contractions in the void, still feel like, fuck, I don't know what's gonna happen. And that's okay, because that's part of the human experience. It's part of the shadows, it's part of the darkness. And specifically around the team and the energy around money, there's so much shame and so much guilt around it. And we're not really sharing about it up until we made that 6-figure business or 7-figure business or whatever we desire to manifest. But we all on the same journey, and we all at times looping I can remember about 2 years ago that I was in a scenario in Spain, and I was in between receiving money, a big chunk of money, and like I kind of left a little bit premature. So I found myself in a situation where I was waiting for that to come in, and there was very little left on my bank account. So what happened is that I kind of was stuck for 3 days at a place. Now I can laugh about it, but this is only 2 years ago, right? And that's just like, it's such a beautiful teacher. Did I share about it? No. Did I talk about it? No. Why? Because of the shame. Because like, how can I express that? Because I should have my shit in order, right? Because that's the one side that I'm presenting. But this other side is also happening. And as I expressed a lot about healing the sexual trauma, the adoption journey, and all these other journeys in between, where I expressed the shadow sides, I've never expressed this shadow sides in terms and in regards to the money. And money is a frequency, money is an energy. That's all that it is. And I had to learn, for me, the lesson is that money is not bringing me the safety, because I'm feeling safe within my body, whether I have money or I do not have money. Because I can have like lots of money in my bank account. When I had like a couple of thousand of euros in my bank account, I could still find myself in the contraction and in the fear and in the lack timelines and panic attacks, as well as being in the zero. That same fear and panic was there. So the money vehicle did not have anything to do with feeling safe. And this is how we are imprinted. This is how we grew up. This is the programming. There's a lot of fear and a lot of scarcity created in the grids that we can align ourselves with, but we do no longer require to align ourselves with, because we are choosing, right? We are choosing what timelines we are aligning ourselves with. It's by choice. But when we are in those panic moments, we often can no longer feel the choice. And this is often coming back to not feeling good enough, to not feeling worthy. And what's happening, and again, I'm seeing this in the fields, I've been experiencing this myself, is the loop of like, oh, I'm here and I'm here. Going back and forwards, up until we anchor, up until we really face those shadows. And for me now, speaking out loud about this, speaking about like, okay, last Thursday, for example, I had a massive panic attack around money, around scarcity. Fear surfaced. And it was really acknowledging that was also happening in my field, whilst in the evening I went to a beautiful dinner, whilst the next day in the evening I went to aesthetic dance, whilst this evening I'm going to a beautiful concert. It all happens simultaneously. And that's okay. It's all here to be felt and to be seen, but most importantly, to be acknowledged. So I decided to just jump live and to share about it, even though it's made me feel very uncomfortable. Because it's part of my reality still. And what I'm noticing, that of course it will in a way always be part of the reality, because for each new level there is a new devil. So once we learn to be okay with that, it's also easier to navigate. And for me, it also has a lot to do about receiving, for the feminine to lean back, for the feminine to lean in, for the trust and the surrender. For me personally, I really require to lean into the mystery, because in human design I've got a fear motivation, and fear doesn't work for my mind, so I made it mystery. So leaning in the mystery, it means that I chose a design this lifetime to actually not know it exactly, the unknown. I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold, so there will always be these moments that's like, okay. So it's coming back to that trust, leaning in, leaning back, allowing, and trust and inner knowing. The universe wants you to thrive. And this is very easy when we do have money, and it's more challenging when we do not have any money, of course. And here is another thing that I've personally been looping in, and I would be really curious to know how your experience has been in this. It's the process I was going through, it's not that much anymore. I was going through in making a decision to say yes or no to something in terms of investing in the money or in the activity, which is coming back to this whole process that was playing out in my mind of fear and not enoughness, thinking about the future, but in the moment I always have the money, so I got the money. And like an example could be that, yes, I was on a trip with a friend, and we wanted to go on a little boat adventure, and it was a little bit more money than expected. This was about also almost 2 years ago, and yeah, I decided no, I'm not gonna join. It was also raining, and I was like, no. And my mind was like, I cannot do this because it's too much money. That for a really long time has been my first instinct. No, I cannot do it because it's too much. I cannot do it because it's too much. So I said I wouldn't do it. And then eventually, like 20 minutes in or half an hour in, I decided like, I'm just gonna do it. And we had the best time. We had such a beautiful time, and it was so much fun. But it was this whole loop that I had to go through, taking out the pleasure aspect actually, because I'm not fully in it. I'm not fully in the present moment because I was worrying about the future, right? And that has been a pattern, a deeply imprinted pattern that I have been dissolving and working with, but it's going back and forward. Like I said, this was an example of 2 years ago, but I've got very recent examples as well, where I was like, oh, can I do this or can I not do this? And it's coming back in that trust again, because personally I end up doing all these things anyway. So why continue making the journey such a hassle? And I'm very curious to know if any one of you can relate. How is your thought process going? How is your thinking process going? Is it going in the, I don't have the money? Because if that's the first thought that's coming up, then that keeps appearing in the reality. So to loop it all back, I guess the main point being is that we are all human. That I am human, that you are human, and that there might be fears around certain things in life, unfolding in daily life. And that doesn't mean that we simultaneously can live a free, abundant lifestyle, enjoying still so many things. And this is the paradox. The one exists next to the other up until we alchemize and completely transcend it and it's no longer present in our fields. But this is a spiral. So there's always a next layer, there's always a deeper depth that will surface at a certain point in time. And this has been a continuous journey for me, continuously, and I've seen myself looping. Especially the last couple of years, I've seen myself looping by moments in time where I did not have the money to pay my rent. Or I was doing my grocery shopping and literally did not have enough money on my card to pay for it. I had those moments unfolding, and those were very new for me because prior to 2019, money was not even a thing to think about. It was always very abundant. It was always very present. But it was also the shift of ego-based manifesting, more for the outside world, and now manifesting from the heart, from a place of love, which is completely different. It's like how I would like to refer to lower realm money and higher realm money. And this, at present, is my biggest teacher, is one of the aspects that I'm learning about the most. This is also one of the aspects that I'm not teaching about because I have not mastered it. So in the work that I do, you will hear me saying a lot and sharing a lot about allowing your body to lead you, feeling safe in your body, feeling free and abundant. To me, feeling free and abundant means travel, means like moving in nature, all these things. But the money codes itself, I'm still mastering. So yeah, I'm still looping there from time to time. And the beautiful thing that I've been witnessing with myself is that I end up doing all the things that I desire. And the journey towards those things is becoming more loving and more graceful and more joyful each and every single time. And the timelines that I'm playing in are like closer and closer and closer and closer coming together in a way that I see that this piece is dissolving, that this piece is being transcended, that these timelines are about to collapse. And that's available for each and every one. So what's currently playing out in the collective with everything that's unfolding and the system that's crumbling, right, is that there are infinite timelines, of course, there are infinite timelines. But there are these timelines where there's a lot of fear and lack and scarcity. And that's, of course, where they want to keep humanity. And simultaneously, there are these timelines where that's no longer present, where it's not even there. And it's by our frequency, the frequency we emit, we embody, our energy, that will determine which version of Earth, which timeline we anchor ourselves in. And then it's also the compassion and the love for our human and our humanness, that if we're playing in these abundant timelines most of the time, and still every now and then can find ourselves in these other timelines, which are sometimes bringing up fear and scarcity, to feel the compassion for the human aspect within us, to feel the compassion for the soul lessons we have chosen. Because many of us also have chosen to walk this journey and master these money codes. Again, there's abundance and there's money. Abundance is in all aspects of life, feeling the freedom, feeling that true liberation. Money is something else, and in future timelines there will not even be money any longer. It's gonna dissolve, it's completely gonna disappear. But right now, where we are, it's still here. So by me sharing the stories that I shared yesterday in my storyline, which is, they are saved in my highlights, in the About Me highlights. Just by sharing those, I no longer felt like a fraud, because I saw that I was very real and honest. And I've been sharing a lot about the shadows, about life, but also about my personal shadows. And to me, this piece that I'm sharing about right now, the money piece, feels as one of the lost parts that, I was ready to express. Because perhaps that was the authentic piece that was missing in the sharings of like, okay, it's like, beautiful and it's awesome, but in the background there are still these fears and at times panic attacks. And luckily, with so much gratitude and love for myself and my human and my soul, I can say that the panic attacks are no longer related to any flashbacks, because just a few years ago, what would be in relation to flashbacks? But now, again, it's the money. So each time there will be something new be surfacing in the field that will allow us to expand. And right now, for a long time already, that vehicle has been money. And it's a big part of the combination of giving and receiving, and the trust, again, the feminine and the masculine, of the leaning in and the leaning back, and taking soul-aligned action simultaneously at the same time, honoring the flow of energy within our bodies, honoring the energetics, honoring what's happening in the collective, and discerning what's mine, what's yours, and navigating all those aspects and all those energies with grace. Because often what I've been noticing for myself, and what I've also been seeing, especially here in Tulum, is that there's so much fear at times in the collective, but it's not even ours. So to really like distinguish what's yours and what's mine, that's so important. Also in terms of what's happening with the money frequency, because money is simply a frequency, and in essence it's just love. It's pure love, and it's in abundance. It's for everyone. But just, I've seen this, and I've been witnessing this, to simply express the amount of money that one desires to call in their business. That's already challenging. And why? Why is that? Like, even now, I can feel that it's challenging for me to say out loud that I desire to manifest a lot of money and to run a 6 or 7 figure business. And why? Because I truly believe that when good people have money, they will create beautiful things that will change the world for the better. And the other thing is I desire to master these money codes, because that will also support humanity. This is the ripple effect again. But there's so much shame and blame and guilt to even just say it out loud. And that's starting from when we're going into this journey, especially when we're running our own business, by expressing, I desire to have and have 5K steady months or 10K steady months and then 20K and 50K, just expressing that. There's so much in the fields where it's blocking in our hearts, in our throats, in our vocal expression, in our sacral, in the roots, because we're linking so much towards it, we're attaching so much towards it. But witnessing and listening to the people that already master this, because that's what I like to do. I like to learn from the people that already running this 6 and 7 or sometimes 8-figure businesses. What are they doing? What identity have they embodied? And then at the same time being perfectly okay with where I am right now. So like I mentioned, having a panic attack last week on Thursday in scarcity. And even though it was just a fraction, like for me to feel it and express it and then be like, okay, I need to shift out of this, because is this real? No. But for that moment in time, it was real. It's being real and very honest with ourselves. That is like the authenticity of like, it's all present and it's okay to allow it in the fields, in the shadow and in the light, as long as we do not lose us in that shadow aspect, because that's not who we are. So we walk through the fire with grace and we face it head on. And that's part of owning your stage. And what I've been seeing, what I've been witnessing in the collective and in the field, and specifically in our industry, and now I'm talking about the healing, the coaching, the mentorship. It's like after a certain point, we're only talking about the abundant aspect. We're only talking about the free and liberated lifestyle and about the travel and the luxury and all these beautiful things. And again, I'm guilty doing that as well. But what I really started to miss, even in some of the people and mentors that I've been working with, and I still respect them deeply, but what I started to miss is that other parts that's also still there, and maybe not any longer in those aspects of how it was, because I believe we can really dissolve and collapse those timelines. But the human aspects that I can feel like shit the one day, and even an hour later I can be in the happy mode. And sometimes that's taking a day or sometimes 2 weeks, but it's that realness, it's that authenticity, that we can be everything in our fullness without the judgment, and without the judgment for ourselves. First and foremost, without the judgment for ourselves. So yeah, to loop it back, because the intention about this sharing was about initially me feeling a fraud and then realizing I'm absolutely not a fraud. But also expressing more of the shadow and the pattern that has been so present for me in the past weeks and past couple of months and years even, that I've never spoken about, which is the money. And the loop of having money and not having money is also something I'm really witnessing and seeing in the collective. It's there and then it's not. And that's all coming back to allowing our body to lead us and to our ascension journey and to hold more light quota, to getting used to hold more light, to hold more money, to hold more in our field, to hold more people in our field, to hold more of everything in our field, to hold more abundance in our field. That's the journey that we are on. So the moment when you still see yourself looping from having money and not having money, it's beautiful because there's so much space for growth. It's beautiful because it's showing you where the work still is required. It's beautiful because it's showing you where the human and the soul are not fully in alignment yet, where you're playing in these timelines and then jumping to other timelines. And then coming back to the inner knowing and to the wisdom and to your own power, strength, and light, that you can absolutely collapse these timelines and anchor fully into those timelines, no longer having to go back to those. No longer. And something that really has helped me is that everything and anything that I desire, for me a lot is around travel and exploring the world and doing the grid work in powerful vortexes, like Tulum, for example, is that, I lost it. Yes, thank you. So, let me look back. The moment that we have a desire, the moment that we feel something, the moment that we want to go to a place, the moment that we see a dress that we like, oh, wow, I love that. Doesn't matter what it is. There is a version of you already playing out that reality. There is a version of you already traveling and experiencing the next destination. There is a version of you already having that job. There is a version of you already living in that house. There is a version of you already having that dress or bag or earrings, or whatever you desire. There's a version of you that already is that 5 or 6 or 7 figure business. I know this because otherwise it would not even be present in your field. You could not dream about it. You could not even think about it. You could not feel it. So the moment you can think it, the moment you can visualize it, it's the moment that we need to anchor it in our body. It's the moment that we truly need to feel it as is it already is here. So that's where the work is. It's the moment where we're starting to believe that that's the new identity, that that's the new world identity we are desiring and going to anchor ourselves into. And that's a journey. It's a spiral. It's a journey. And there will be moments in time that you perhaps also feel like a fake, or there will be moments in time that you feel like the whole world is collapsing and everything is dissolving. Because here is the other thing. The moment when you set yourself to something new, in the fullness, in alignment, guess what's going to happen? The universe is going to remove everything and anything in your current reality that's no longer in alignment with that version that you just permissioned and said yes to. So the world is going to collapse. That's how it feels at times. If I look back 2 weeks ago, I felt my whole world was collapsing. I saw only people leaving from my fields. But that was because I went through a very big quantum shift again. So the universe is then also going to, prepare the field. And that's the void. That's uncomfortable. This is where we stress. This is where we cry. This is where we panic. This is where these fears around money and all these things can come to the surface again. It's being okay with that and knowing that it's just a moment in time. It's a moment. It's not who you are. It's just that moment. And then coming back to yourself again. Is there anything else I like to share? I'm feeling quite complete. So to recap, on the one hand, we can have this beautiful lifestyle and live that lifestyle to the fullest and enjoy everything that's coming with it. And on the other side, the human can still face fears. The human can still go through contractions. And not only can, the human will. And then witness your human. Witness her. Witness him. Witness the movie playing out. And lean into the mystery. Lean into the mystery. So yeah, my greatest teacher right now is the money frequency, and I know it's for many of you, and it's beautiful because it's one of the only tools that is a mirror for so many different frequencies, energies, emotions, feelings, from the guilt to the shame to the fear to the lack to the abundance to the love to the joy to the happiness to the deliciousness. It's all there. So what are you aligning yourself with? What timelines are you aligning yourself with? What versions of Earth are you aligning yourself with? That's the choice. And it's all yours. And that's the journey. That's the journey that we are all on. To hold more light in our physical vessel. And that will change our outer reality per default. That's just how it works. So let's do the quantum work. Let's be that frequency match. Let's work on the frequency. Because that's the most important aspect. If you do have any questions or would love to share anything, then please drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Like I said, I felt very uncomfortable sharing about this topic specifically, and it has been surfacing in so many different aspects in my life in recent years. And I'm ready to dissolve this. I'm ready to let go of this. And for me personally, the moment that I start speaking about it is the moment that it's going to be dissolved. It's the moment that it's already dissolving from the fields. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for witnessing. Thank you all for witnessing me in my journey, for being here in this space with me. And I'm sending you all lots of love.